So it's been a few weeks since I've had a chance to mess with the Bonneville, so I just jacked it back up. And so today what we're going to do is we've got some wheel speed sensors here. I had an inkling that it was an issue with the front one and not the rear one, because on my first and only ride on this bike, we had speedometer. Now, in my last video, I did talk about how I think this bike has been in a wreck, and I continually find more and more signs of it. So if you look here, and then you look on this side here, you can see that the paint's been a little bit cracked and it looks a bit deformed here, more so than the other side. It might have been like a very light collision. This is, fortunately enough, this piece is not like structural. This is literally just to hold the headlight on. So it might have went over very slightly. So you do see this type of damage. So basically what happens is, like, a bike will go down on its side and it'll land on the turn signal here, and the impact, believe it or not, will push it in. So maybe not, who knows. When I did ride it that one time, it did ride relatively straight. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on ABS sensors. We're going to start off with the front one first. And so in order to do the front one, we've got to remove the headlight because the connector assembly is here according to the Haynes manual. Alright, so I've got the two 12mm bolts that come off to take the windscreen off, and then there's two 5mm Allens that go here to secure the headlight into its bucket. And just looking at it, I mean, everything seems intact. This is the ABS connector right here. I mean, it looks like an ABS connector. Doesn't seem like there's any issues here, but we're gonna go ahead and just remove it and plug our other one in and see what happens. So right off the jump, this is the one that came off the bike. Nothing looks really out of place. Pins are here and connected. And then when I look at the connector on this side, I mean, there's Testa tape on it, which is probably factory. And even on this side, it looks totally fine. So I don't really see any indication that there's a problem with this right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to test it off camera and see what we can get. Alright, so I had the ABS sensor depinned, as you can see. The reason why I was doing that was because I went to go hook up my oscilloscope, and on neither sensor I can get any reading from the oscilloscope. Now, another code that we had was concerning the ABS module, and that might actually be the reason why, but I couldn't get anything out of the O-scope, like, at all, on either sensor. So I've tried both sensors. I actually have a total of 3. I haven't tried a third one, but the chances of all of them being bad, or 2 of them being bad, is kind of slim in my opinion. I measured the gap so this is one of the new sensors here. I measured the gap. That gap is good, but we still don't have anything as far in terms of ABS. I wasn't able to do this on camera. There's just no way to hold it, but I ended up checking resistance on all 3 of them, and all 3 sensors' resistance is about the same. So that tells me that the sensor is not bad. Like, if you have like 0 resistance, that usually tells you have a break in the wire. Unfortunately for me, all 3 of the resistances are about the same, which is about 400 to 500 kilo ohms. So that kind of tells me, I mean, that doesn't tell me for a fact, but if all 3 sensors read about the same, that tells me that the sensor's probably still good and we have a problem somewhere else. The other code that we had was a P1521, and that code tells me that there's an issue with the ABS module, and that's kind of like what this is looking towards now. I'm going to have to go through the Haynes manual and check the wiring routing to see kind of like what the 2 wires on these 2 wires right here, which go to the ABS, which is green, black, blue, white. So we're going to see where this goes in terms of the rest of the bike, and then we can go from there. But unfortunately, that's kind of a wrap for the night. So this morning before work, I came out here to do a little bit of work on the bike just to check over a couple things. So one thing that I forgot to do during the oil change was I was supposed to hook up to the computer using TuneECU on my phone to reset the maintenance light. So what was really weird was I reset the maintenance light, and I went ahead and did all of my adaptation relearns, and look at what happened. Yeah, fuel level came back on for whatever reason. I'm not really sure why, but I'll take it. So I know it's got a full tank, and time will tell whether it'll go empty or not. But I reset the adaptations, and it suddenly worked, so I'll take it. Next thing was we still have ABS codes. So where we left off yesterday was I checked all the wiring from the ABS sensors, or excuse me, I checked the ABS sensors, and I took a look at some of the wiring, and I used my meter / oscilloscope, and we got a little bit of signal, but nothing crazy. So, which doesn't surprise me. So the next thing was I went inside and I checked the harness on the Haynes manual here, which I recommend everyone getting. So the ABS sensor on the front goes directly to the ABS modulator. So the only bad part about the modulator is in order to get to it, you've got to take the rear wheel and the rear swing arm off, which I recently just did for the rear tire. So with TuneECU, you're able to connect and check ABS codes. And here's the thing. I've got no connectivity with the ABS module itself. And the code on the ECU itself is, it does talk about how there's no communications with the ABS module. So I did the simplest things first, which was check the fuse. So if you can see here, there's a 25 amp fuse here for ABS. I checked that already, and we've got good power there. So I'm going to see if I can try to just unplug and replug the ABS module. The only problem is, let's turn that off real quick here. The only problem is that the ABS module sits basically behind here. So it sits basically behind here, and I'm not really too sure how to get to it. Like I said, with the Haynes manual, it tells you that you've got to remove the rear swing arm, but I'm just going to try to unplug it is what I want to do at first, just to check to see where we're at. And in other news though, I did check like the fuel pump, the purge valve, all that other stuff, and all that stuff is working. So the only thing left that's not working is ABS. So like I said, I'm going to try to get to the connector and just unplug it and then plug it back in, and maybe we get lucky, maybe not, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I was able to get this there's a cover down here. So if you look here where my finger's at, this is the coolant reservoir. There's a cover that goes here, and if you look to the right of it, you can see the ABS modulator. So that's it right there. So this is the ABS modulator. The problem is directly to the left of it, if you can see my finger down there to the bottom left, that is where the connector's at. So that's the connector for it there, but I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to unplug it. So it looks like at the very least I can get the rear tire off again, and then at that point I should be able to access that connector, which really sucks, but it is what it is. We've got to check it out. So but yeah, that's where we're at right there. So rear tire is going to come back off, and then we will get to the ABS modulator, and then we will unplug it and plug it back in and hope for the best.